Strychnine dog poisonings. Who's the culprit? Story on Nightcap.
This is the beginning of the 6 o'clock news. It's a storyboard. It's a master plan for the 6 o'clock. Good evening, everybody. I'm Jan Yanahiro. Tonight, in the first of our two-part story, we're going to take you behind the scenes of local television news. How does it get put together? And who are the people that put it together? A first-time look at local television news, I think, will surprise and fascinate you. Now, here's Richard with the rest of this evening's Channel 5 magazine.
Well, if I know newsrooms, you're about to see more coffee drinking than on a whole month of weekends in North Beach, and a very good story. Our second story tonight, well, just consider, what if all of your favorite country western music stars, I mean the big names in Nashville, all got together for a jam session? Well, they did, and we were there, and that's our second story tonight. In our Good Ideas, Greg Pace drops by a working man's bar and restaurant in San Francisco. Paul Wynn reviews the new album from the Soviet group Black Russian, and Susan Sikora has some hints on color coordination. Now let's join Jan in the newsroom.
I'm trying to find some the locations to where those graves were this morning.
We like to think that what we're telling them is what they need to know, but really what we're telling them is what they're interested in.
Go ahead and take it. That's good. That'll work.
All right, that'll work. Man says it'll work.
There may be in some people's mind an idea that a news department has to cover the news, but the news is only what people decide the news is. And you know, it's just people in this office next door over here deciding where they're going to send $80,000 worth of camera equipment to cover an event. Where Channel 4 or Channel 7, somebody else, a different person, is deciding where to send their cameras.
The average television viewer watches 27 hours of television every single week and gets, on the average, of 63% of all his or her information from television. If these statistics are true, then we asked, who is it that decides what stories we get to see, how a story is selected, and why is one story selected over the other?
Good morning. I'm sorry I'm late. On the telephone. Okay. Ruth is on the phone. I'm sure she'll be with us in a moment. Okay, let's start with the wires. What do we got?
The morning story meeting. It's here that the content of today's news show begins to take shape. Producers discuss overnight and morning wire service reports, newspaper stories, any late-breaking stories, and in the works features.
Sperm separation story.
We're going to see the 9-pound boy.
9-pound boy, 9 pounds, 11 ounces.
The Delapines of Concord got their baby boy yesterday morning using the no-miss method.
Bruno Cohen, executive news producer.
When you're talking about key people in a television newsroom, you're talking about people who are on the line, people who are making the moment-by-moment decisions that translate into what's going to go on the air. The people on the line are the assignment editor.
As assignment editor, Lloyd Beaker is responsible for assigning crews to cover stories. Lloyd and his assistants also continually listen to scanners that sweep 61 law enforcement and fire radio communications. If they hear a breaking story, they will immediately assign a news team.
Okay, before your crew goes out to shoot those things that you needed, have them come up here and talk to me. They might have to set up a live shot, and then it will be relieved by the later crew.
You're in this business to inform the public, but I think many people, and I'm one of them, as much a thrill as is to inform the public, I think it's fun beating your competition. That's what it's all about.
So when you see him, tell him, give me a buzz, will you?
It is competitive, but it's fun. I have police scanners in my house, police scanners in my car. I have a beeper, and it doesn't, in the news business, it doesn't end.
Channel 3, please.
think now? What do we want to do?
I think we want to go Wheeler, Pryor, School Fire.
All right. Wheeler, Pryor.
The formatting of the show, deciding where a story should be placed and how long it should run, is the job of Wendy Harris, line producer of the 6 o'clock news.
I think every good news show has been accused of being too sensationalistic. The old excuse being, well, news is visual, and some things that are sensational are very visual. Fires, murders, things like that are very visual, and they make good television journalism. But I know that this newsroom is very dedicated to covering important news stories. Meanwhile, a leader from this area is in Washington meeting with President Carter, and that will come off the feed, and we'll take that top.
In world news tonight, President Carter is back home at the White House after spending 8 days in Europe. His last stop was in Portugal, where Carter and President Antonio Ramalho Eanes put out a statement saying...
Tell me how good the Big Hole is. We got a piece called Big Hole. It's an intriguing slug. I'd like to know about it. Okay.
Now, small devices has to do with the condition of our highways.
Speaking of big holes, all right.
Sort of.
It's late enough in the day to talk about pacing as sex.
A news show is kind of like a big, giant piece of poetry.
Pacing is not this or this. It's change.
I try to keep it fast and interesting and exciting.
And taking your audience through a program the way two lovers take themselves through each other. Well, I'm not crazy about ending the segment on a couple of VO fires.
Well, here we've built all this fire stuff.
Well, what if you stop?
Now you want to move them?
This time of day, the reporters are starting to come back in, and we're starting to compare notes. They had their assignments. We've been in communications all during the day, but now we're looking at what the final stories are, and this is really determined by the reporter. They're the person on the scene. They're the one who knows what was going on. At that point, the reporters go back. They write their stories. The stories are tracked. They're reviewed by a producer or one of the people on the assignment desk, and they go on into the editing process.
So a lot of people had stopped payment rather than not having enough money in their account. A lot of people.
The more people that show up here is where we're at. The more people that show up here.
And all the blank spaces mean we have to fill them in and get the stories done. And it's 4:07. And we have that much done. We got about a third done.
Can we make it?
Gotta make it. It's live television. Got to make it. We don't have a choice.
When you have that many people all working that fast under that much pressure, the potential for them psychologically detonating is high, and it happens every day. Every day.
So if the pressure is that great, why do you do it? What do you get out of it?
What else is there to do?
The more pressure, the more I like it. It may drive me crazy, but it also keeps me going, and I keep telling myself it could be worse. I could be a surgeon.
2 minutes. Could you give us control of the dog? I want to see if I've got a 5 bump there. Coming up on 1 minute, Mark.
We got a problem.
Headquarters to 4 Edward.
30 seconds to Mac.
Next on Eyewitness News at 6.
Right. All right, we're 15 seconds to air. Put camera 1 with insert on the line. Standing by, and mic cart cue.
Good evening. It's taken hours and hours and hours, but tonight we finally know what caused the upper deck shutdown of the Oakland Bay Bridge.
Obviously, each station has its own news style. In a future story, we will be talking to the news directors and the anchor people about individual stations and styles. But tomorrow night, we're going to go on assignment with the news reporters and the technicians, people who work out in the field. It's these people who bring you the breaking stories. Right now, we're going to take a short break. Evening will be right back. We're just about out of time, but we do have enough time to tell you about tomorrow's evening magazine, and tomorrow it's Richard's turn.
That's right. My turn to take you outside of the newsroom to show you how the reporters and the technicians get the story and bring it back. That's the second part of our story about television news. Well, our second story tomorrow is a whole lot better than the sound of one hand clapping. It's the sound of 1,600 feet tapping. Yes, friends, it's the world's largest tap dance.
In our Good Ideas, Chef Tao shares his foolproof method of barbecue and steak. Joni Gregan shows us precision swimming. And Linda Harris begins a great escape to Savannah, Georgia.
Good night, everybody.
Have a great evening. Good night.